The Vrel ships appeared in Earth's skies without warning on an otherwise unremarkable Tuesday morning. Massive obsidian structures that defied conventional physics. They hovered silently over major cities worldwide. Humanity's combined military, might, missiles, fighter jets, experimental energy weapons, all failed spectacularly against their impenetrable shields. Captain Marcus Reed stood on the roof of the United Earth Defense Headquarters, staring up at the Washington vessel through tactical binoculars. 12 hours of global panic, and still no communication from the visitors. "Sir," his lieutenant called from the doorway, "they're broadcasting." Every screen on Earth flickered simultaneously. The Vrel commander appeared humanoid but wrong. Too tall, too angular, with eyes like polished copper coins. Its voice translated in real time through some unknown technology. "People of Earth, we are the Galactic Hegemony's advance force. Your planet has resources we require. Resistance is unnecessary and inefficient. We will begin harvesting operations in 48 Earth hours." Diplomats scrambled. The United Nations convened an emergency session. Earth's military forces consolidated under emergency protocols established decades earlier for just such a scenario, albeit one few truly believed would come. The aliens ignored all attempts at communication for 24 hours. Then they sent a second message. "As demonstration of our resolve and technological superiority, we will neutralize one minor population center. Observe and understand the futility of resistance." Tactical officers tracked the energy buildup above Prosperity, a mid-sized town in the American Midwest. Evacuation orders went out immediately, but the beam struck just 4 hours later. Where 50,000 people had lived that morning, only a perfect crater of glass remained by nightfall. World leaders gathered virtually, faces grim. The Vrel's technological advantage was overwhelming. Conventional warfare was suicide. Nuclear options would destroy the very planet they were trying to save. "We need more time," President Eliza Kwan said. "We need to understand what we're dealing with." Intelligence agencies worldwide activated their deepest assets. Scientists worked frantically to decipher the aliens' technology. Military strategists planned guerrilla operations for after the invasion began. Just as the 48-hour deadline approached, Earth's unified government sent its response: apparent capitulation. "We accept your terms and request only that you allow for orderly evacuation of harvest zones to minimize loss of life." The Vrel commander appeared pleased. "Sensible. We will begin with your northern continent. Evacuation protocols may proceed for 6 hours." Behind closed doors, Captain Reed was assigned to lead a desperate mission. Intelligence suggested the Vrel, despite their technological superiority, had one critical weakness: arrogance. They hadn't bothered to learn human languages or culture. They relied entirely on their translation systems and showed no interest in understanding their new subjects beyond resource extraction potential. "They think we've given up," Reed told his international strike team. "That's our only advantage. We need to find their vulnerability before they realize we're still fighting." Dr. Elena Martinez, xenobiologist and linguistics expert, placed a data chip on the table. "We've been analyzing their communications. There are patterns, inconsistencies in their language. They're hiding something fundamental about their species or their intentions." "Find it," Reed ordered. "Meanwhile, we need to buy time. The evacuation isn't just about saving civilians. It's about positioning our assets where they need to be when we make our move." As the first Vrel harvest ships descended toward Canadian soil, humanity's most audacious deception began. They would pretend to surrender while secretly preparing for a war unlike any fought in human history. 3 months into the occupation, the Vrel controlled nearly 40% of Earth's surface. Their harvest operations stripped regions of specific minerals, leaving behind wastelands where nothing would grow. Billions of displaced humans crowded into designated habitation zones under alien surveillance. On the surface, humanity appeared broken. Underground, the resistance flourished. In former Beijing, Director Wei coordinated the Eastern Coalition from a bunker 20 stories beneath the ancient city. His weathered face showed the strain of sleepless months spent building the most extensive intelligence network in human history. "The Vrel aren't as unified as they want us to believe," Wei explained to assembled resistance leaders. Our observers have documented at least 3 distinct factions among their command structure. Holographic displays showed Vrel ship movements and communication patterns. Dr. Martinez pointed to color-coded clusters. The red faction prioritizes mineral extraction. Blue focuses on biological sampling. And green, they're the most secretive. But they're collecting data. Massive amounts of data. Reed, now general of the Unified Resistance Forces, studied the patterns. They're competing with each other. Can we exploit that? Already working on it, said Commander Jackson, head of operations. We've identified several Vrel who can be approached. They value efficiency above all else. If we can convince a faction that another is hindering the mission, they might move against each other. The Resistance's greatest asset remained the aliens' fundamental misunderstanding of humanity. The Vrel saw humans as primitive, predictable biological entities. They hadn't bothered to study human history, art, or the countless ways people had already imagined and prepared for extraterrestrial threats through centuries of science fiction. This blindness created opportunities. The Resistance developed low-tech communication networks using methods the high-tech Vrel overlooked. Analog radio, physical message drops, even patterns in hanging laundry that conveyed intelligence across occupied zones. Scientists working in hidden laboratories made breakthroughs daily. Dr. Patel's team in Mumbai reverse-engineered portions of Vrel shield technology. Professor Okafor in Lagos discovered biological vulnerabilities in Vrel physiology. Each discovery was shared globally through the Resistance Network. We're almost ready for Phase 2, Reed told the Council. But we need more intelligence on their command structure. That's when they hatched their most dangerous operation yet. Operation Ghost Child would place human assets inside the Vrel mothership orbiting Earth. The risk was astronomical, but the intelligence value incalculable. Lieutenant Tomas Reyes volunteered immediately. I grew up in an orphanage in Argentina, he said quietly. I have no family they can threaten. I'm your ghost. Using stolen Vrel technology and surgical modifications, Reyes was transformed. Not into a Vrel, that would be impossible, but into something the aliens would want to study rather than kill on sight. Dr. Martinez's team had determined that the Vrel collected unique biological specimens. Reyes would become one. As Reyes prepared for his mission, disaster struck. A resistance cell in Oslo was compromised. The Vrel response was immediate and devastating. They didn't just eliminate the cell, they destroyed everything within a 5-kilometer radius, including St. Olaf's orphanage. 96 children and their caretakers, gone in moments. When the news reached Resistance headquarters, silence fell. Then Director Wei spoke, his voice like steel. Document everything. Every child's name. Every detail. This isn't just war anymore. Reed looked at the faces around him. Chinese, Brazilian, Nigerian, Russian, American, and dozens more nationalities united in grief and resolve. The Vrel don't understand what they've just done, he said. They don't understand us at all. Lieutenant Reyes floated in the specimen tank, lungs filled with oxygenated fluid, modified eyes observing everything through the translucent walls. His body, surgically altered with attributes from multiple Earth species, had successfully attracted Vrel scientific interest. They'd retrieved him from the specimen offering left by supposedly compliant humans eager to assist their new overlords. 3 weeks aboard the mothership had yielded critical intelligence. The Vrel weren't a single species, but a collective of 5 distinct alien races united under hegemonic rule. Their technology was indeed centuries beyond Earth's, but it wasn't magical. It followed principles that humans could potentially understand and counter. Most importantly, Reyes had confirmed Dr. Martinez's theory. The Vrel were deeply factional and growing more divided regarding Earth. The specimen lab was managed by Chief Researcher Ixel, a tall, spindly being from what Reyes had categorized as Species 3. Ixel spoke frequently to other researchers, unaware that the semi-sentient specimen could understand their translated communications through the neural implant hidden beneath Reyes's surgically modified skin. Commander Vore demands more mineral shipments, Ixel complained to a colleague. The biological survey is falling behind schedule because of these constant resource reallocations. The commander obeys the hegemony's priorities, the colleague responded, mandibles clicking. We are scientists. We observe and collect. But the value of this world isn't just minerals. These humans, they adapt in unusual ways. Their neural pathways show patterns I've never documented before. Reyes remained perfectly still, controlling his heart rate as he had been trained. The specimens that showed unusual responses were dissected for deeper study. On Earth, the resistance entered Phase 2. Using intelligence from Reyes and other sources, they launched coordinated strikes against Vrel outposts, targeting specific factions to heighten internal alien conflicts. General Reed reviewed holographic battle reports from a mobile command center beneath the Alps. Perth team successful, São Paulo successful, Cairo successful with heavy casualties. Each strike was carefully designed to appear as if another Vrel faction might be responsible. Evidence was planted, communications were falsified, the seeds of mistrust were sown. Director Wei's intelligence network intercepted increasing amounts of agitated Vrel communication. They're accusing each other of sabotage, Wei reported. Commander Vor has executed 3 sub-commanders from rival factions, but the resistance also suffered losses. A major laboratory in Montreal was discovered and destroyed. The reverse engineering program for Vrel shield technology lost its lead scientists. The most catastrophic blow came when a Vrel patrol discovered the primary African resistance headquarters beneath Lake Victoria. The aliens deployed a new weapon, a seismic amplifier that liquefied the Earth itself. 8,000 resistance fighters and their families perished in minutes. Aboard the mothership, Reyes witnessed the aftermath. Ixel and another researcher watched footage of the destruction, their alien features impossible to read. Such waste, Ixel said. So many specimens lost. Commander Vor considers it necessary, the other replied. The insurgency must be crushed before the harvesters arrive. The timeline has been moved forward. Reyes felt cold dread despite the warm fluid surrounding him. The harvesters. This was new information, and potentially catastrophic. Using the microscopic transmitter embedded in his modified nervous system, Reyes sent an emergency burst transmission during the ship's routine energy fluctuation cycle. On Earth, Dr. Martinez burst into Reed's command center. Urgent transmission from Ghostchild. The Vrel fleet we've faced is just the advance force. The main harvesting fleet is coming. Thousands of ships. They don't intend to occupy Earth. They're going to strip it completely and move on. Reed stared at the decoded message. Estimated arrival? 2 months. Maybe less. The room fell silent. Then Commander Jackson spoke. The Oslo Orphanage, Lake Victoria, Montreal. We've been fighting defensively, trying to survive. Maybe it's time we showed the Vrel what humans do when we have nothing left to lose. Reed nodded slowly. Contact all cells. Operation Scorched Earth is now active. If humanity couldn't save the planet, they would ensure the Vrel wouldn't have it either. The designation Orphanage Protocol emerged from the Resistance's darkest strategic meeting. Named for the Oslo tragedy, it represented humanity's final ethical line. Once crossed, there would be no return to civilization as it once existed. We're talking about sacrificing everything we've built, Director Wei argued, his normally composed demeanor cracking. Thousands of years of human achievement. If the harvesters arrive at full strength, there won't be anything left anyway, Reed countered. Lieutenant Reyes's intelligence is clear. They won't leave a habitable planet behind. The debate raged for hours among the resistance leadership. Dr. Martinez presented the scientific consensus. The Vrel technology we've studied has one consistent vulnerability: quantum resonance instability. Their systems can't handle certain vibrational frequencies at scale. Professor Okafor elaborated. We've developed a device we call the Resonance Cascade Generator. It creates expanding fields of destructive energy that specifically target Vrel tech while leaving Earth structures relatively intact. Relatively intact? Wei questioned. There will be significant collateral damage, Okafor admitted, particularly to electronic systems. We'd essentially be sending Earth back to the pre-digital age in affected regions. Commander Jackson studied the projections. Even with every generator we can build, we can't cover the whole planet. We need to choose strategic deployments, and we need a delivery system, Reed added. The Vrel will detect these devices if we try to position them conventionally. That's when Dr. Patel made the suggestion that would change everything. "The orphanages," he said quietly. The room fell silent. "The Vrel don't consider children a threat," Patel continued. "They barely register them as sentient. Their security protocols classify children as non-combatant biological entities. My team has analyzed their patrol and scanning patterns. They pay minimal attention to facilities housing only children and caregivers. The ethical implications were staggering. Using orphanages and schools as staging grounds for the most devastating counteroffensive in human history violated every moral principle the resistance claimed to uphold. Yet the alternative, planetary extinction, seemed worse. After agonizing deliberation, a compromise was reached. Only adult volunteers would handle the technology. Children would be evacuated before activation. The facilities would merely serve as staging grounds for the generators, exploiting the blind spot in Vrel security. Operation Orphanage began worldwide. Under cover of legitimate humanitarian efforts, resistance technicians converted hundreds of childcare facilities into weapons staging grounds. The few remaining functional manufacturing centers worked around the clock producing resonance cascade generators. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Reyes continued his dangerous mission aboard the mothership. His modified body was deteriorating, the alien environment and biological alterations taking their toll. The Vrel scientists noticed the changes, increasing their experimental procedures to understand why their specimen was failing. Through excruciating pain, Reyes gathered critical intelligence. The Harvester fleet had accelerated its approach. They would arrive in just 3 weeks, not 2 months as previously thought. More disturbing was what Reyes learned about the Vrel's ultimate plans. Earth wasn't just another resource planet to them. Something about human biology particularly interested the hegemony. The Green Faction, the data collectors, were cataloging human genetic information with peculiar thoroughness. When Reyes transmitted this information, Dr. Martinez made a horrifying connection. "They're not just taking our resources," she told the Resistance Council. "They're taking our DNA. Every human they've captured or killed, they're storing the genetic information." "For what purpose?" Wei demanded. I think they're adding us to their collective." Martinez's hands trembled as she displayed her analysis. "The Vrel aren't just 5 species anymore. Historical records we've pieced together suggest they were originally just 1. They've been absorbing compatible species, integrating useful genetic traits." The implications struck like a physical blow. Humanity wasn't facing mere extinction. They were facing absorption, the ultimate erasure of human identity from the universe. Reed made the call. "Accelerate Orphanage Protocol. We launch in 72 hours, ready or not." Resistance fighters worldwide moved with desperate urgency, evacuating children from the staging facilities as the clock ticked down. The resonance cascade generators required precise synchronization. They would either work simultaneously or fail entirely. At St. Christopher's Orphanage in what was once northern France, Dr. Martinez personally supervised the final calibrations. The building had once housed 60 children. Now it contained a device that could destroy Vrel ships within a 50-kilometer radius. "Final checks complete," her assistant reported. "Synchronization at 99.7%, within acceptable parameters." Martinez nodded grimly. "Evacuation status?" "The last transport left 20 minutes ago. All children are clear." A distant explosion rattled the windows. The Vrel had increased patrols everywhere, sensing something amiss in human behavior patterns. The orphanage's perimeter defenses wouldn't hold for long. "Begin final countdown," Martinez ordered. "Transmit confirmation to command." Across the planet, 412 similar facilities sent the same confirmation. The orphanage protocol had reached the point of no return. Aboard the mothership, Reyes received the coded alert through his implant. His body was failing rapidly, alien experiments having pushed his modified physiology beyond endurance. With trembling hands, he activated his final mission component, a miniaturized version of the resonance generator implanted within his own altered flesh. In the command center beneath the Alps, Reed watched the global deployment map, each confirmed generator appearing as a green dot. "We're at 97% confirmation," Commander Jackson reported. "It's the best we're going to get." Director Wei stood silently, watching the countdown. When he finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of history. "May whatever gods exist forgive us for what we do today." Reed gave the order. "Initiate orphanage. Protocol." Across Earth, the generators activated simultaneously. The effect was not immediately visible. The resonance fields operated primarily on quantum levels, but within seconds, Vrel technology began to fail. Ships lost stability, weapons systems deactivated, and communication networks collapsed. In orbit, Reyes's internal generator triggered a cascading failure through the mothership's central systems. As alarms blared around him, he dragged his failing body from the specimen tank. The confused Vrel scientists barely registered the threat until it was too late. Reyes managed one final transmission before his implant failed. For the children of Oslo, the mothership's destruction created a visible light show across Earth's skies, raining debris through the atmosphere. It was humanity's first clear victory, but it came at a terrible price. The resonance cascade effect proved more devastating than predicted. While successfully disabling Vrel technology, it created unpredictable energy storms that ravaged the landscape. Cities that had stood for centuries collapsed. Millions of civilians who couldn't be evacuated in time perished in the chaos. And most critically, St. Christopher's orphanage failed to evacuate completely. A final transport carrying 12 children and their caretakers had been delayed. Caught in the facility when the generator activated, there were no survivors. When the report reached Reed's command center, the room fell silent. The sacrifice had been made involuntarily, the very crime they had sworn to avoid. "The Vrel are retreating," Commander Jackson reported, her voice hollow. "Pulling back to secondary positions. We've driven them off 60% of occupied territory." But no one celebrated. The strategic victory felt empty against the knowledge of those 12 lost children. "We've become what we're fighting," Wei said quietly. Reed stared at the casualty reports streaming in from around the world. "No. The Vrel would eliminate us without remorse. We still fight to preserve something of humanity." He looked up, eyes hard. "And we're not finished. This was only phase 1. The Harvester fleet was still coming. Humanity had bloodied the Vrel advance force, but the true test lay ahead. And now, the line between resistance and ruthlessness had blurred beyond recognition. 3 weeks after Operation Orphanage, Earth barely resembled the blue jewel it had once been. Resonance storms still raged across continents, rendering vast regions uninhabitable. The remaining human population, less than 2 billion now, consolidated in the least damaged territories, preparing for the final confrontation. The resistance had become humanity's de facto government. With formal nations shattered, people rallied around leaders who could protect them. General Reed found himself the reluctant head of the largest surviving human faction, commanding forces across what had once been Europe and Western Asia. In orbit, the debris field from destroyed Vrel ships provided an unexpected advantage, a primitive early warning system that would detect approaching vessels. Hastily constructed observation posts among the wreckage transmitted constant updates to Earth. Director Wei, working from a hardened bunker beneath former Shanghai, coordinated intelligence operations with ruthless efficiency. "The Vrel advance force has consolidated at 7 major strongholds," he reported via static communication. "They've adapted some systems to resist our resonance weapons, but they remain vulnerable." Dr. Martinez had withdrawn from military operations after St. Christopher's. The loss of those children had broken something in her brilliant mind. She now led a different initiative, Project Legacy, ensuring human knowledge, art, and history would survive even if humanity itself did not. "First contact detected," announced the orbital monitoring station. "Massive energy signatures at the system's edge. Configuration matches Reyes' intelligence on Harvester vessels." Reed called an emergency council. The holographic projections showed representatives from all surviving human factions, a diverse assembly united by desperation. "The Harvesters will reach Earth in approximately 72 hours, Reed informed them. "Our orbital defenses can delay them, but not stop them. We need consensus on the endgame protocol." Commander Jackson presented the final weapon, humanity's last resort. "The resonance weapons were just the beginning. What we've developed now targets not just their technology, but the quantum structure of Vrel biology itself. Professor Okafor, now missing an arm from a Vrel counterattack, explained further. The displacement field creates a pocket of altered space-time. Anything caught within it is removed from our reality, permanently. The testing we've managed suggests the field will expand to encompass approximately 1/3 of Earth's surface, Jackson continued. We cannot control exactly which third. The implications were clear. Even if successful, at least 1/3 of remaining human survivors would be sacrificed alongside the Vrel. Is there no other way? Asked the representative from African territories. We've examined every alternative, Reed answered. The harvesters are coming with overwhelming force. Conventional resistance means extinction or absorption. Wei's hologram flickered. Even this may only buy time for some to escape. We've been retrofitting Vrel scout ships. They can't travel far, but perhaps far enough to establish a human colony elsewhere. The debate raged for hours, but in the end, the vote was unanimous. Survival of the species, even greatly reduced, outweighed all other considerations. Humanity would not go quietly into extinction. As the council concluded, a transmission came through from an unexpected source. Dr. Martinez appeared, her face gaunt but eyes clear. General Reed, I need to speak with you privately. When the others had left, Martinez revealed what Project Legacy had uncovered. We've been analyzing Vrel biological samples. There's something you need to see. Her team had made a stunning discovery. The Vrel genetic structure contained human DNA markers. Not similar sequences, but exact matches. This shouldn't be possible, Martinez explained. Unless they've been here before, Reed finished the thought. Or they will be here again, Martinez countered. Their technology manipulates temporal physics in ways we're only beginning to understand. What if the Vrel aren't just aliens? What if they're us, humanity, from some distant future, coming back to harvest their own ancestral DNA to prevent some catastrophic genetic collapse? The theory was outlandish, yet supported by the evidence. It would explain the Vrel's particular interest in human genetics, their methodical collection and cataloging of human DNA. Reed considered the implications. If we deploy the displacement field, we might be erasing our own future, Martinez finished. Or creating it. Temporal paradoxes make causality impossible to predict. As the harvester fleet drew closer, humanity faced its most impossible choice yet. Fight for immediate survival, potentially dooming their evolutionary future, or surrender to absorption into the Vrel collective, preserving human DNA but losing human identity. Reed made his decision. Prepare the displacement field, but target it precisely at their command vessels. We'll take the fight to them this time. The harvester fleet entered Earth orbit exactly as predicted. Massive world ships that dwarfed even the largest Vrel vessels from the advance force. They moved with mechanical precision, positioning themselves over the planet's remaining resource-rich regions. Beneath the Swiss mountains, General Reed stood before the assembled leaders of the resistance. The time for debate is over. Launch the evacuation ships. All non-essential personnel head to the designated survival zones. 12 retrofitted Vrel scout ships, loaded with humanity's best and brightest, launched from hidden facilities worldwide. Each carried genetic samples, cultural records, and the collective knowledge of Earth civilization, humanity's insurance policy against total extinction. The harvesters made no attempts at communication. Their intentions were clear as massive. Extraction equipment deployed from their hulls descending toward Earth's surface. Displacement field generators at 100% charge, reported Commander Jackson. Targeting solutions locked on the 3 primary harvester command ships. Reed gave the final order. Initiate. Across Earth, the remaining resonance generators activated in precise sequence, creating a carefully choreographed wave of disruption that rippled upward through the atmosphere. The targeted harvester ships attempted evasive maneuvers, but the displacement field expanded faster than their engines could respond. Space itself seemed to fold around the massive vessels. For a moment, they existed in 2 places simultaneously. Then they were simply gone, leaving perfect voids in the sky. The effect cascaded through the harvester fleet, creating chaos among the remaining ships. Without central command, their synchronized operations collapsed into disorder. It worked, Jackson exclaimed. The command structure is disrupted, but victory was short-lived. The remaining harvesters, though disorganized, were still formidable. They adjusted tactics, becoming more aggressive. Extraction beams targeted major human strongholds with devastating precision. In orbit, the evacuation ships came under attack. 3 were destroyed immediately. The others scattered, using the debris field for cover as they fled toward the outer solar system. On the ground, Reed received dire news. The displacement field had created unexpected secondary effects. Reality. Fractures were spreading along fault lines in spacetime. Earth's structural integrity was compromised at the quantum level. Director Wei's final transmission came through clearly. Eastern continent collapsing. Displacement effect expanding beyond projected parameters. You must... The transmission cut off abruptly. Reed ordered evacuation of the command center. As they raced through collapsing tunnels, Dr. Martinez transmitted data from her final analysis. "The Vrel aren't our future," she reported, voice steady despite the chaos. "They're our parallel, a version of humanity that evolved in a universe where different choices were made. The multiverse theory was correct. They've been harvesting, across realities, seeking genetic diversity to prevent collapse of their timeline." "How does that help us now?" Reed demanded as they reached the surface, watching reality itself unravel around them. "Because there's a third option beyond fight or surrender," Martinez answered. "We can merge." Her theory was audacious. The displacement field wasn't destroying the Vrel. It was creating overlapping pockets where realities intersected. With precise recalibration, this effect could be harnessed. Against all military instinct, Reed made contact with the remaining Vrel command. Transmitting in their own language, a feat made possible by Reyes's sacrifice, he proposed an unprecedented solution. The last harvester ships ceased fire. A single shuttle descended to Reed's position. From it emerged not the tall, angular beings they had fought for months, but creatures that seemed almost human, yet fundamentally altered by evolution across a different reality. Their leader spoke, its voice hauntingly familiar. "You understand now. Extinction faces both our branches. Separate, we perish. Together, we might survive." Reed looked at the being, neither fully Vrel nor human, but something between. "How many other Earths have you harvested before proposing this solution?" "Too many," the creature admitted. "We were blinded by desperation. Your resistance exceeds any we have encountered. You forced us to see another way." The merging process began immediately. Not a surrender, but a synthesis. Human and Vrel scientists working frantically to stabilize the fracturing reality around them. The orphanage protocol, designed for destruction, became the framework for salvation as the remaining generators were recalibrated to harmonize the overlapping realities rather than tear them apart. Around the globe, humans and Vrel worked together, former enemies united against extinction itself. The process was neither clean nor complete. Many regions remained uninhabitable. Billions were already lost. But where the merger succeeded, something new emerged. Beings with the adaptability and innovation of humanity, combined with the advanced perception and technological understanding of the Vrel. 1 year later, Reed stood on a hillside overlooking what had once been Geneva. The landscape remained scarred, but new structures rose. Architecture that blended human aesthetic with Vrel efficiency. Children played nearby, some fully human, others showing subtle signs of the merger. All citizens of something that was neither Earth nor the hegemony, but something entirely new. Dr. Martinez joined him, her form slightly altered by voluntary genetic modification. "The evacuation ships are returning. They've received our signal that it's safe, or as safe as it will ever be." "And the other realities? The other Earths?" Reed asked. "We've made contact with 3 already. The merged fleet is developing technology to stabilize the connections without causing collapse." She paused. "We're calling the initiative the Orphanage, a place for the lost children of all humanities." Reed nodded slowly, watching the children play. The war had cost them everything they once were, but in that loss, they had gained something unprecedented, a future not just for human civilization, but for human evolution across the multiverse. When the original orphanage fell, humanity had believed itself at the brink of extinction. Instead, it had been the birth of something far greater than they could have imagined. a new definition of what it meant to be human in an infinite universe of possibilities.